Hey everybody, welcome to UGASports Live. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I'm joined by Dayne Young and former Georgia Bulldogs head coach Jim Donnan, the Hall of Famer, the number one attraction on a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. We appreciate all of you who moved your schedule to join us tonight. We would have done it at our normal Tuesday at noon, but with Kirby Smart meeting with the media, couldn't do it. We had to hear what he had to say. He had a lot of information. If you haven't watched the Kirby Smart press conference from yesterday and you're on YouTube or our Facebook channel, you need to go watch it. If you're on our TikTok channel, there's a couple clips over there you need to see, but there was a lot of information in there. We didn't go through the whole roster, but we asked him about a lot of different players. And Coach, I want to get your thoughts on this. A few weeks ago, we had seen Roderick Robinson in a boot. And most of the time, we don't even report about guys in boots because it's usually precautionary, keep down swelling or something like that. Last week, Kirby Smart said he had a toe injury. We asked again this week. He says he has turf toe, and he doesn't know when he'll get him back. I made the point that Kirby's usually very optimistic on injuries, saying he hopes to get a guy back this weekend or this afternoon. When he says we don't know when we're going to get him back, that sounds like Roderick Robinson will be out for a while. So can you tell us about turf toe and what, in your history, I know you've had players that have had it. How bad can it be? Is something you try to tough out? Is something you do surgery for? Talk to us a little bit about turf toe so we can get an idea of where, yes, Georgia's everybody had in their mind this is their number 2 running back, but he's not going to play this coming Saturday.
Has that already been said that he's not?
Well, when Kirby said he's not going to get him back for a while, I'm pretty sure that's indicative that he won't play.
Well, from my experience, if you just envision yourself stumping your toe, how bad that feels, and use some bad words right when you do it, it's just a very painful, and your balance is affected, and the back requires so much putting his foot in the dirt, making a cut, and all that. The worst case that I was ever involved with was Patrick Pass, who was an outstanding player. He got a lot of bad press here because they said he wasn't tough enough. It wasn't that. He just couldn't. He had Dr. Mulhern told me he's the worst turf toe in his history of 50 years of medicine that he ever saw. And fortunately, Patrick got to go ahead and play pro and did a great job for the Patriots. But it's just everybody's got different rehab on it and different ways that they come back. I'm really not privy to what exactly is going on with Roderick, but the fact that he's got such a big base down there with his legs, maybe a little bit harder for a bigger guy. But tough break for us because, he'd lost some weight to go along with his power too, and was going to be a big force for us. So hopefully meet him in the middle here. It's maybe not too bad, but definitely it's a jolt for our team for him not to be playing against Clemson.
I don't know if Trevor Etienne, the transfer from Florida, will be able to play. And we've asked Kirby 2 weeks ago. Kirby kind of sidestepped the question. He was asked this week, do you have any suspensions upcoming for the Clemson game? And he promptly, coach said, we'll deal with that when the time comes. He didn't want to announce anything ahead of time. So my thought is there's a possibility that
well, definitely it's a possibility just because of the not being smart ass to you, but, with the fact that they've got, a looming situation as far as how's it involved with the school as far as what the school rules are and all that. But I don't blame Kirby. I mean, I don't think I don't say that you are, but I just feel like there's no need to tell Clemson what we're going to be doing as far as who's playing and who's not. And usually you announce those, right before the game, or you find out when you see a guy's not dressing. But he definitely has a lot better chance of playing with this reduced, sentence or reduce what the charges were. So we'll see how that works out. But he is a difference maker now. I'm talking about among the better players in the country, not just the SEC. He is a big-time back that makes a lot of difference for any team. But for us in particular, from the standpoint as many different kind of runs that we have that require quickness and good cuts and, really good sense of where the defense is trying to stop you and all that. He's a very astute guy as far as knowledge of what to do. And the thing I like about him is, even though he's a transfer, he worked hard at trying to become a Georgia Bulldog. I mean, he wasn't coming in here anyway except trying to get accepted by his peers. Certainly they had a lot of respect for him with what he'd done in Florida with the limited personnel that they had. But he has, Kirby's mentioned it several times about he's been the leader, and he really works in his craft. And maybe he's just a little smaller size guy than I thought he was as far as height, but Barry Sanders type height looking, maybe not quite as stocky, but I'm not saying he's Barry Sanders, but he's in that area code.
All right, if Rob is not playing, let's say Etienne's not playing for the sake of this discussion, Coach, I want to run through the names at running back that we can see against Clemson and just get a rundown of what you think of these guys, starting with Branson Robinson.
Well, I would say right off the bat, we might see some of Bell. We could see that just because we know what he can do. But getting back to that, I just threw that out just to get it right.
I was going to mention the name, so you beat me to it.
But
you know I love that guy.
The fact is that Branson, first of all, I look for take a lemon, make lemonade out of it. I mean, just the fact he's back is a plus. But when you have that kind of injury and there's in the back of your mind, we saw it with Zamir White, coming back off of 2 ACLs. We saw it off of the kid that transferred to Georgia Tech, the receiver. It's just a different deal coming back when you're getting hit like a back does. So I can't really say how much he's been hit or what he hadn't, but he's a powerful guy, can pick up blitzes and can catch the ball. It would be good if he's 80% of what he was. I hope he can be.
Cash Jones.
Cash is a guy that makes the register open. I'm just telling you right now, that guy is he's really, really a person that every team needs a guy like that. I mean, he's going to play his optimum, and he wants to be on the team, and he'll bust his ass to do anything he can to help us win. And if he played 50 snaps against Clemson, it wouldn't worry me. I feel like he's capable of doing that.
And then we get to the freshman, Nate Frazier.
If he plays 50 snaps against Clemson, I'd say we win. No, I mean, this guy's special, and he can electric, can put his foot on the gas, can move out of the backfield. James Cook type, maybe a little more physical looking than James, but same kind of quickness, same ability to JoJo out of the backfield, shift out of the backfield, line up as a receiver, can run the inside, outside zone, even though he's a smaller back. He might be counted on to do a lot. First game Amos Lawrence played for me at North Carolina. He got 212 yards. And people were talking about, well, he doesn't have any experience. I said, well, he's been out there running away from Lawrence Taylor all fall camp. So that's the same way with Nate Frazier. He's been running. These boys chase his ass around here. So I feel good about Nate.
Dwight Phillips Jr.
Dwight Phillips. I didn't realize how fast he was until actually saw him a couple times live over there. He has got that extra gear that very few people have. I mean, Switzer used to call it, fast as a hiccup. And I'm telling you what, he's got the hiccups now. This guy can juice it. And certainly he's got to learn all the nuances and all that. But But the other guy that just makes my mouth water is Chauncey Bowens. I mean, Dale was telling me about Chauncey when he got him to flip. And I said, tell me about him. He said, Coach, you're going to like him. And because we talk a lot about the virtues of a back and all that. And I watched him in the spring. He jumped right in there. He was very quick to learn what to do. And I don't know how much he's been used this fall, but this guy can make the pile move. I mean, he can take one and make it 3. He can take 3 and make it 5. And he, a lot like Zamir White, reminds me of Zamir.
And then the other piece of this that I think we need to note is Georgia had done a lot of the sweeps with Bowers and McConkey in previous years. Who's most likely to take on some of that? Is it someone like an Arian Smith, who we've seen some of that too?
Yeah, I'd say Arian Smith's 1. Lovett's probably 1A. And then you might see some with Bell. But most of Bell's stuff carrying the ball would be on bubble screens or, just line him up in the backfield and letting him run a counter or something like that, a couple special plays. But we got enough people to be efficient back there, but we don't need to feel sorry for Clemson and not let a couple of those guys. I mean, I can't say what Kirby's going to do. I respect whatever he decides to do, and he's got to do what is fair to the other players. That's what he's going to look at. You can't treat one guy one way and another guy another as far as discipline. So I know Etienne paid a lot of price as far as on the field discipline and off the field discipline and things he did in the community. So I know he's paid his dues. So we'll just have to see.
Roddy, the whole thing reminds me of the backfield where Georgia had Todd Gurley, Keith Marshall, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, and yet in that season they had to start Brendan Douglas at Missouri, and he was really good. Like, all of those things were true, but you just need such a deep room there.
I still remember Brendan Douglas getting spun around like a top going in the end zone or going for a first down. Yeah, you need them all. That's people sometimes say, hey, why do you guys talk about the backups? I'm like, because the backups are the starters in 15 minutes or 5 seconds. It just happens. You got to be deep, and each guy has his own kind of style. Coach and I were talking about this the other day. Sometimes that guy has a hot hand, and you just keep feeding him, and you can't guarantee this is going to happen each time. I mean, there are times where even with Nick Chubb and Sony Michel, sometimes I'm like, just keep feeding Nick or just keep feeding Sony because he's just taking it to the house. It's a plethora of possibilities. But then when you start, guys getting banged up, Branson Robinson's returning from an injury. We don't know, as Coach said, how good's he going to be? 3 true freshmen, kind of crazy. Dylan Bell's been working extensively at wide receiver, but what about Anthony Evans?
Anthony be another guy we could run the what we call rocket. People call it jet sweep and things like that. We call it 48, 49 rocket because I want them to bust their ass in the end zone. But I think Evans will be dynamic. I don't like to say think. I know he's going to be dynamic. This guy has got the kind of feet that most people dream of. I mean, he definitely big time returner and has really blossomed under Coach Coley's tutelage, and he's going to be a really big time player for us.
There's also a walk-on Dwight Phillips who apparently played at Pebblebrook. It's really good. So
I thought we already said him.
We discussed him.
Come on, Roddy, listen to the show.
I'm sorry, I was asked about him on our other channel, so I want to be sure.
No, seriously, I was talking about how fast he was and about how quick he could. I don't know if he's a walk-on.
No, I'm sorry, not that one.
Yeah, he's not the walk-on.
He's not the walk-on. Who's the other walk-on?
Cole Spear?
No, he's a receiver. Brandon Mathis. That's the one.
Yeah, well, hey, he's good. The thing about it is, in today's social media deal, you talk about so many guys But in the old days, if you had one or two backs, that was it. I mean, these guys carried the ball 30, 35 times a game.
Yeah.
Now, these guys, if they get 15 carries, they go take you over to Chick-fil-A and buy all the linemen something to eat.
Coach, I did this. Give Quintavious Johnson a chance to carry the ball.
Oh, he could do it. And then you could put
you saw Malachi in person do it in high school.
You could do Malachi. You could do put a lot of
Kobe White. There's a million of them.
Hello, Jones.
Coach, I've heard a lot of coaches say that there are positions that it's just really hard to be ready to go early as a true freshman, whether it's left tackle because of physically and then also just knowing the protections. Maybe it's cornerback. Is running back one of those positions you can contribute earlier?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that you say is, well, they got to learn the protections, which is big because we're a pro-style team that utilizes recognition of fronts and doing all that stuff and what we call scat releases where you're hot or double check on let's say you got a 3-5 look and you got the inside backer to the outside backer. So you do a double check. If the inside guy comes, you pick. The outside guy comes, you pick him up. If not, you release. Those are just little things. But this time of year, if a guy is a playmaker like Nate Frazier, I'm a lot more interested in what Nate can do and instead of what he can't do. You don't want to take the playmaker out of a playmaker. You want to stay with what he can do and add on to it. But there's not many people on any campus in the country like Nate. That's why he's rated number 1 all-purpose back in the country by a long mark. So, a team like the old I formation, then you weren't worried about anything. You just toss it to Herschel or toss it to Worley or whatever you do. But in this case, there's a multitude of things you got to do. But I would say this just to clarify this. It's not like these guys been over here been playing pickleball all year. I mean, they've been over here since January playing football, studying football. Nate wasn't here until he got here in the summer, but they get to meet, they get to do all that stuff. And so the mental part is a lot better for these freshmen than it ever was for any freshman in the 90s or 80s.
And I remind our audience, the last time Georgia played Clemson, that was the first game of Brock Bowers.
Good job for Brock. I'd like to know, in your research there, how many times has Dabo actually beaten Georgia in his 17 years there? I know he hasn't beaten us much.
Did Dabo? All right, I'm on it. I'm not off the top of my head. I'm not remembering one.
Well, he's the coach of Clemson, so I know we killed him over there 30-0 one year, and we beat him over here when they started that one guy instead of Watson.
They started Cole Stout instead of Deshaun Watson. Watson came in the fourth quarter.
They talked about what a great coach that coordinator was. I told Bobo after the game they should give that guy a lakefront property over there with that lake and tell him thank you for that one. I mean, good Lord.
Blake Davis says he beat Georgia in 14. Malcolm tore his ACL in that game on celebration.
14, Georgia won 45-21 is what I'm seeing. 13, the 38-35 in Clemson.
Favor Clemson?
Yes.
So that's like his only win.
That would be it, yeah.
So what is he, 1-4?
1-3. I think you're predicting it's about to be no, he's 1-2. It's about to be 1-3, I think is what you're predicting.
Not really. I thought, I was watching that ACC thing where they do the trip around the league and they visit all the different programs, and he was spouting out all these different things that they'd done at Clemson, and I was just interested to see what his record was against.
I'll run through it for you. I'll just even go back to All right, 2021, Georgia wins 10-3. 2014, Georgia wins 45-21. 2013, Clemson wins 38-35. Then you go pre-Dabo. Georgia wins 30-0 in 2003, 31-28 in 2002. 95, Georgia wins 19-17. 94, 40-14. And 91, 27-12. So Georgia has a pretty good run against Clemson.
Hold that tiger.
You were talking about the, guys that might have to contribute against them that may not be as experienced, who could be effective as a true freshman. And this past week and the past 2 weeks, we've asked Kirby about a lot of either redshirt freshmen, like the 3 defensive backs, Justin Rhett, Chris Peel, Kyron Jones, or his, 3 outside linebackers that he signed last year, Gabe Harris, Damon Wilson, and Sam Mpemba. And multiple times Kirby's like, we'll call him, say, a newcomer, a guy who hasn't really blown up that much, but he said exactly what you did, Coach. He's like, yeah, those guys have played a lot of football for us because a lot of them were early enrollees last year. So they got the, spring practice in 2023. Then they went through the 2023 season. Now they've been through spring practice 2024. Now, 20 some odd days of 2024 fall camp. He's like, yeah, these guys know our system. So to me, if you see a Kyron Jones, or Chris Peel go out there instead of a Aguero, or you see Sam Mpemba, we got to speak to Damon Wilson today. They're probably not household names yet. Guys on the Jamal Merriweather on the offensive line, Jordan Hall on the defensive line, although we know he's out. There are a lot of guys who, although this team's very young and those guys haven't played in a lot of games, they've been going, like you said, they've been running away from Lawrence Taylor all year, for a year. So
here's the thing about it, and everybody, understands Kirby's and that listens to our show or watches it knows that Kirby's really very organized and very detailed. But there's no way in the history of Kirby Smart's coaching that he's going to ever put a guy on the field that doesn't know or have a chance to know what he's doing.
Yeah.
You earn that right here. You don't get any boy, we'll let you play a little bit. That doesn't happen here. The only way you get on the field is work your ass off and do what you're supposed to in practice. And our practices are set up, to me, rep-wise, where every practice except maybe Thursdays and maybe sometime Monday when they cut back a little bit. So 2 or 3 days a week, we get at least 2.5 games worth of reps out there because of going 2 teams at once. And games are easy, and from the standpoint of they're hard because you're playing the pressure of it, but they've repped an inordinate amount of different ways to get ready.
Well, speaking of things that are easy and ready, let's talk about our friends at Athens Ford real quick. I want to mention the fact that they have some really good specials going on. This is the good time to get out to Athens Ford. It's always a good time to get out there, but especially August. Right now, the 2024 Ford Bronco and Bronco Sports, all models are up to $7,000 off. Ford Explorer is $7,000 off. The Ford Escape is up to $5,000 off, as is the Ford Edge. Again, that is a neat size car. If you've not been in a Ford Edge, check it out. You can get up to $7,000 off or 1.9% APR financing for 60 months for qualified buyers. So check out Athens Ford. You will be very happy that you did so. They take great care of you. Get the lifetime powertrain warranty when you go out there. You can't get that just anywhere. It's not, if you go to a Ford dealership in Conyers or Carrollton or Tennessee, and say, hey, I want that lifetime powertrain warranty, they're going to turn their head sideways and think you wonder who the hell you are. And we are on Wednesday, which means we missed the double points Tuesday at our friends at Your Pie. But I had a gentleman that we met with, a potential sponsor, and he said, look, I don't eat a whole lot of pizza, but you make me want to try Your Pie because the way you talk about it. I'm like, yes, because I believe in it. I believe in the concept. I want a custom pie. I don't want to go in and get somebody else's pizza. I don't want the the mass-produced stuff, from some of the more well-known delivery places. I want to go in and see somebody stretch out the dough, put the right amount of sauce on it to my tastes, the right amount of cheese, the right amount of toppings, the way I want it. And that's what happens when you go to Europe. You get the pizza exactly the way you want it. It's cooked. It comes out with that super thin crust. It's crunchy. I'm sure if you had do the one bite challenge, you'd be thrilled to death and score off the charts because it's exactly the way you want it. So check out all the 70 plus Your Pie locations. Go ahead and use the app. Order it on the app. Get the free drinks, free Cokes. I just got a note from them the other day. Said, "Hey, happy half birthday." So I was exactly 6 months away from my birthday, and so I got a free gelato out of it. Doesn't hurt to sign up with our friends at Your Pie.
We'll have some Your Pie for halftime of our Watchalong show. About half the time. That's what our meal is for that. So that's fantastic. Coach, we do have football this weekend. I did want to quickly make mention of the broadcasters. While we're doing the Watchalong show, Georgia Clemson will have Sean McDonough, Greg McElroy, and Molly McGrath on the call. And frankly, that's my favorite ESPN team among them. So I think that.
Yeah, I got a text from Sean, and he was very happy. He was worried that maybe they might put Texas A&M and Notre Dame at 12, and then put us at for the big one. But you got to realize, and all of us do, that we talk about it. But just for the fans, this is a big deal for ESPN and ABC to get the SEC package. I mean, they paid a lot of money for it, so they've been kind of behind the scenes a little bit at that 12 o'clock venue, because when Fox picked up the Big Ten and the Big 12 and started having that what they call big noon kickoff or whatever, but they made sure to have their best game at 12 o'clock every week, because they knew they couldn't compete with 3:30 game because of CBS having the SEC and ABC having a 7 o'clock game. That's just back and forth, but it's all about ratings. So ESPN right now, they're going to stick a lot of games at 12 o'clock just to prove to everybody that they got those SEC games. And they had some SEC games before, but I think we're going to see a lot of that, and maybe some doubleheader 3:30, 7 o'clock games. But Sean is just a consummate guy. They're in a course of about 2 weeks. He did the Masters, the Part 3 thing for ESPN. Then he did the Stanley Cup, and then he was doing the Boston Red Sox game. So, I mean, this guy's one of the most talented people I've ever been around as far as the way he works at it and studies and everything. And
think of how different those are, going from golf to hockey to baseball, now to college football. Come on. The prep these guys do, I hope most fans understand how much prep someone like a Sean McDonough has to do to understand who he's talking about, especially in college.
You got people spotting for you and telling you the numbers, but you need to have a few little things about each guy, where you can keep the broadcast going. And certainly the analyst, Greg McElroy, does a good job, and he's telling you about the actual game itself, about the nuances of it. But they do they start on the producer. When I did the games, we would have a Monday meeting and get an idea about what everybody thought about the game itself and what were going to be the issues in the game, which players we were going to try to feature, and then they build up all these packages on them so they can have them and show them during the game. And then during the course of the week, you meet with the coaches and talk to the coordinators, and they do a really good job of they just don't come in here and cut on the mics. They do a really good job with it.
Which is great. And I respect those guys. Dave McMahon, our guy Stats, works with those guys all the time. We meet them. But again, it's so much better to do the watch along with Coach Donnan, because he didn't have to sit down with Kirby and get.
Yeah, if you want to be a Georgia fan and cheer, that's what we're going to do. We're Georgia homers. It's a lot of fun, and it started out with this. Radi kind of brought it up as when my wife got sick. I couldn't go to the games, and gave me a chance to actually be involved, watching the game, but also be close enough to be around if she needed me. And just kind of evolved, and hopefully we can keep it going on the same kind of level, and had a pretty damn good record too since we've been doing it.
Yeah, they won 2 titles since we started. Had 185,000 people join us last year. We appreciate that. And Coach is going to soldier through. He's got an eye issue that he's getting fixed, and that's why he's wearing those cool sunglasses. We appreciate him doing it. He doesn't have to do this, folks. He does this as a courtesy to us. He likes to help.
Kirby. I tell you what I need, seriously. I either need Oral Roberts or Dr. Kildare to come to me. I mean, I'm getting some good care, but it's just what I have is something that very few people, 250 people out of 1 million have it. And I'm trying to keep working on it, but I'm pretty limited right now as far as getting a lot of sticking around home.
Well, we will be ready. New TV. We're going to be ready to do the show. So I look forward to the whole Clemson game. Go ahead, Dane. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. We have college football this weekend. I want to make sure we talk about that because it is Georgia Tech playing Florida State in Dublin, Ireland. Coach, I know that Florida State is a 10.5-point favorite here. What I don't know is the status of that roster because it's so different than what it was last year. Definitely what they put out against Georgia is not representative. I like what Georgia Tech was building at the end of last year. Like, I would not be surprised if they find a way to win this game.
Yeah, Georgia Tech is on the cusp of, either making a move to be relevant or being really thankful that Mario Cristobal was such a dumbass and didn't fall on the ball last year and gave him a chance to go to a bowl, and they got that win at the bowl game. But really, over Central Florida. But I think they picked up some. First of all, when I say Tech's picked up some pretty good transfers. They got a D lineman from Alabama, and Ryan Godey came in there from Mississippi State. So they're going to have 2 tight ends playing that both were here at Georgia. But I think their quarterback gives them a chance. He's really a very good RPO guy, and they got that one wide receiver that's really fast that hurt us last year. So I think the biggest key is their defense is going to be good enough. And then conversely, FSU going with DJ Ungalele, who has played for Clemson and played for
Oregon State.
Big wins, and then he went to Oregon State. So I think he's in his 5th or 6th year, but it'll be interesting to see how they do over there in Ireland. And every time I think of Ireland, I have to tell the Irish joke about the 2 guys that were sitting in the bar in Boston. And, they were young Irish guys, and one of them said, "Where you be from, laddie?" He said, "I'm from Ireland." I said, "How about you?" "I'm from Ireland too." "What part?" "Dublin." "Dublin? I'm from Dublin." "What part?" "The South Side." "Are you serious?" "I'm from the South Side." "Where did you go to school?" "Jackson Technology." "Jackson Technology? I went to Jackson Technology." Unbelievable. Boston, Massachusetts. 2 guys from Dublin, Ireland, the South Side, Jackson Technology, same class. About this time, the guy walked in, and Charlie's the bartender, said, "What's going on, Charlie? How's it going?" He said, "Oh, same old stuff. The O'Brien twins are back there drunk again."
Coach, did I tell you I'm going to Ireland next year?
Yeah, for your 10th anniversary.
Oh, I didn't go to Dublin High School. Oh, I thought you were saying class reunion because of Dublin down there. I'm used to that Dublin. Yeah, me and my wife are going to go to Northern Ireland to Royal Portrush.
Very good. Enjoy.
And then we'll fly into Dublin and take a drive over.
Nice. Way to be thinking ahead.
Yep.
I like Ducati says we need to get the Georgia-Florida game in Berlin.
In Berlin?
Yeah. I think it's a good idea. Then just don't tell Florida about when the plane leaves and just leave them there.
You say Berlin in Florida, I think Brock Berlin.
Yeah, well.
Other games, Coach, that I'm just curious your take on, because I don't think we're going to have much time to talk about these next week. But Missouri will end up being the first SEC game, though it's on the Thursday night. They play Murray State. But Oklahoma, Friday night, I know you'll be locked in. Friday, August 30th, Temple in Oklahoma. First game as an SEC team.
OU's favored like 40 points against them.
43 is what I see.
Temple must be dog. I mean, OU's going to be good. I think kind of a sleeper. I like it for everybody to watch their quarterback. I mean, that guy's really good, and he actually went to school over here in Atlanta area until like the 9th grade.
We have Florida playing Miami. Miami is a 3-point favorite on the road. That game in Gainesville.
Yeah, you know, everybody's talking about Florida's tough schedule, but they really have a chance. You know, Miami's not the best thing since sliced bread down there. They got a chance to win the first 4 or 5. I mean, but, you know, I don't know what they'll do with it when they get close, because they've had a tendency to botch it some way. You know, if you go back to that Utah game last year, they looked like they hadn't even practiced with all the penalties they made and some of the coaching moves. Just, you know, time the way they let time get away. But, you know, sometimes when your back's to the wall, like it is for Billy and their staff, they'd really come out and maybe defy, you know, the normal ways to do things and take more chances, and maybe some of them will work. So, and Miami picked up an outstanding quarterback. I'm not talking about good. That Cam Ward, I promise you, he's making more than any pro quarterback is making. He's got to be. He was the sweepstakes guy. That him and that kid that went to Oregon, both Gabriel, they picked up a lot of cash on this NIL.
Another one I like a lot is Riley Leonard that went to Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a 3-point underdog at game at Texas A&M in College Station. I have Notre Dame as a playoff team, Coach. I like what they're building too.
Yeah, I think they got a chance to maybe make, but I would take Notre Dame against Texas A&M. I think Notre Dame is got a solid team. And Riley Leonard, we saw him against Clemson last year in that opener. He's an outstanding, really good athlete, could have played college basketball. Had an injury to his ankle and kept trying to play. But I would put him right up there with Cam Ward as far as a sweepstakes. But as far as guys that are really good. When I meant pro quarterbacks, I was talking about rookie quarterbacks, what they're making. I mean, he might not have got as much of a bonus as Bo Nix. And I saw where Bo was declared the quarterback for the Broncos today.
Yeah.
And he'll do a good job for him. But I can guarantee you, what time is it?
7:38 on Wednesday, August 21st.
He will throw at least 3 balls in the dirt that you just defy gravity in the first 2 games.
Final game I wanted to ask about, USC and LSU playing in Vegas. LSU is a 4.5-point favorite. Garrett Nussmeier, I don't know if he can maintain the kind of quarterback play that LSU's had. Definitely not running the ball, but we saw what kind of rocket he has on that arm.
He's got a good arm. And, of course, we played zone that second half against them 2 years ago and really just tried to get through the game. And we had some busts, but he's a solid quarterback. And I think the big thing for USC, supposedly, some of my friends talked to Chris Felica. Fox had their meeting out there, you know, all the coaches, all the analysts and everything. And he was saying that USC's roster looks a lot better. They picked up some defensive coaches. They hired a defensive coordinator from UCLA, that Lynn guy. And, you know, if they can play any kind of defense the way, certainly they got a quarterback that doesn't meet up to standards of Caleb Williams. But I look for USC to come in the Big Ten and knock some people around. And people getting on, you know, the coach and all about rocky start and everything. He's had about as good a start as any USC coach has ever had, including all the guys, Robinson and you know, I think he'll be okay.
I did see where Pete Carroll is going to be back on campus in the spring there teaching a class. I wonder if he'll come hang around because he has time on his hands.
Pete, good guy. I'm telling you now, that guy right there is really a good man. I remember when one of his first jobs was at NC State when Monty Kiffin got the head job there. Pete was one of the defensive coaches, and always been nice to me, and really good secondary coach, and heck of a head coach in the pros and in college.
Now, thinking the USC defensive line coach came from the pros, he was very active in recruiting some of the top defensive players in the state of Georgia. He had 2 of them committed, 2 of them decommitted recently, or over the summer. But a lot of it was that, hey, this guy's been coaching in the NFL for a long time. He tells me he can get me there, so I want to go play for him. So they're doing pretty well in the recruiting front.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you this, Roddy. I don't know if they got as strong a collective or as Tennessee does, or Oregon. I mean, Tennessee's got Jimmy Haslam. I mean, that's the guy that owns the Browns. His whole company. I mean, he's funding that, and he sold that trucking line or what for I don't know how much he sold it for, and then of course Oregon's got Phil Knight, but USC got I don't know if they got Snoop Dogg or who they got, but they got plenty of help for them.
Makes me wonder if Jerry Jones is going to have to get a little more involved at Arkansas to get some players there.
Jerry Jones got his first grade lunch money. He better sign CD Lamb, or it's going to make a lot of people mad there.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about Georgia defensive lines, I want to get your thoughts, Coach, real quick on the Georgia defensive line. We know that Thomas out for a while, Warren Brinson recovering. Give me your thoughts on Christian Miller, Nazir Stackhouse, Tyron Ingram Dawkins, any of those guys on the Georgia defensive front, because I think most people just have the idea, and I am one of those, that if Georgia has a weakness this year, it would be on that defensive front, just because we got kind of spoiled with the level of defensive line play that Georgia's had on their 2 title runs. Talk to me a little bit about Georgia's defensive front.
It'd be huge if Brinson can play 20 snaps against Clemson. I think they've really been careful. Big guy with Achilles, you got to be careful, because if that goes, then you got no chance. So try to get what you can at him, and then know that you got really Tennessee Tech, which I'm nothing against him, but you can rest him, and then you got an open date after Kentucky. So he's got a really good window to get well there. But Stackhouse can move. I like the way Christian Miller has reacted to a little adversity. He talked about maybe transfer and all that. He's back. He's a solid athlete. And then of course Hall's out right now, but got some good young guys, and I think we're going to see a really good look at Michael Williams being a force, maybe not necessarily lining up all the time inside or all the time outside, but a myriad of both, kind of like Walker did. And I was talking to somebody the other day, we talked about Walker and his ability to cover kickoffs and do all those things as he was moving along the line, but nobody had any envision, I'm sure, as a fan or analyst or anything, he would be the number 1 guy picked in the NFL draft. I'm not saying that Michael will be that, but I do feel like his evolution of playing will really surface this year, and he will be a dominant player for Georgia on the defensive front in some area, whether it be inside or outside. And a lot to be said about Jalen Walker doing some outside stuff too. So you mentioned those other guys in Pimba and
Damon Wilson, Gabe Harris.
Yeah, those guys, good-looking athletes. I mean, they look the role of our defense. Our defense is going to be, to me, I thought it was good last year. I think it'll be a lot more destructive defense. I think they're going to inflict some real pain on some other teams.
Nice, like that. All right, speaking of pain, if you want to avoid a painful situation where you try to get a bunch of people to go out to dinner with you and I don't want to do sushi. I don't want to do pizza. I don't want to do Chinese. I don't want to do Mexican. take them to a place where everybody can get something that they like. And the best place to do that, if you're in Athens, you're on the west side of town, go into Academia Brewing Company. Now, they're closed on Mondays. I wanted to have a meeting over there on Monday. Didn't get the chance to because they were closed. But if everybody wants something different, if somebody wants a flatbread, somebody wants grilled salmon, somebody else wants a great hot dog or a triple lettuce sandwich, pulled pork, they have it there. And all of it is fantastic. So when you get the chance, if you're in town, you're coming up for the Clemson, for the Tennessee Tech game, or if you want to watch the Clemson game out there, they'll have it on all the TVs. They have a ton of them. Go back to Academia Brewing Company. You'll be glad you did. The drinks are fantastic because, of course, it's a brewery. They brew their own beer. And food, great. They had a chef out there. So just to give you an idea of how dedicated they are to making good food when their guests come in. They take good care of them. Also, if you were looking to kind of start your own business like the guys at Academia did, all the folks at Europe High, you're not sure how to start your own business. You're not sure exactly how to get involved in that. Well, it's a lot easier to do it with a franchise. Which franchise do you get? Well, there's over 3,000 of them that our friends at myperfectfranchise.net actually represent. So if you reach out to Andy Ludecky, he's the guy that started this whole thing. And his story is basically starting a franchise, start opening a second one, opening a third one, helping other people get into it. So he's basically made his business helping you get into the right franchise that fits your financial needs, your time constraints, your life goals, and he will take care of getting you from start to finish. You don't have to pay him a dime. Text him, call him, fax him, email him, reach out to him, Telegram, however you want. The guy will walk you through it. He's done it for a lot of members of UGASports.com. He can do it for you too.
So in the chat, this was UGA 3-peat. Wanted to make sure that we discussed the SEC tiebreaker that was announced, and that was next on the docket for me to bring up and make sure we acknowledge. So the SEC has announced the tiebreaker, the official order of how you break a tiebreaker to get to the conference championship. It starts with head-to-head competition among the teams that are tied, then the record versus all common conference opponents, then the highest place common opponent. You get down to winning percentage and scoring margin. The final would just be a random draw. But I see, God, let me just go ahead and knock on wood or eat these words because it's college football and weird things happen. I almost can't see a scenario where a random draw, we get down that far. But, Coach, did you have any reaction to tiebreakers? Is this something that coaches have been talking about? Where does this register with you?
I think it's good that they got the backup because you don't want to get to a computer deal. I hope they nobody uses that. I like the head-to-head, and you're going to have some scenarios with this many teams and not playing everybody where you're just going to have to see what happens. So I don't know what's going to happen if they're going to keep the conference championship games with all these playoff games, but I guess they need the money, so they'll keep having the game. But so realistically, you could play 12 games, conference championship game, and then maybe get a bye, and then you play 2 more games. But is that the way it is?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are saying it was 15 games. That's the most likely scenario. But
yeah, I mean, if you didn't play in the conference championship game, you had to play a first round game, then you'd play 3 games, so it'd be 15 max. Okay.
Yeah. I maintain that there is going to be an advantage for a team that's 5 through 8 that did not have to play in a conference championship game, because if you can somehow avoid the conference championship game but host that first playoff game, then you get the home field advantage that you don't get from being either top 4 or being in the conference championship scenario.
I would agree, my friend, but the one bad thing about it, you're going to have to play 1 through 4 in the second game.
Yeah.
So some people like it, some people don't.
I just don't see an easy path for any team in a 12-team playoff. And people can say there will be preferred
if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it, Dane. Good Lord. Good God. Easy. Come on. You really that one.
No, but I'm saying
Kirby, Dayne wants the easy path for you. He's a homer. He wants the easy path. Yeah. Let's play the Little Sisters of the Poor in the first round.
Look, I get it. You want to play Tulane instead of Ohio State if you get the chance. What I'm saying is the Tulanes of the world are good too.
No question. There's no easy path. I just wanted to bust you a little bit.
I'm with you because there are a lot of people said, "Oh well, why do we need teams 9 through 12? Wait till teams 9 through 12 beat your ass, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, they shouldn't have even been in the playoffs." I'm
We
like,
would have killed for 8 teams last year.
Yeah,
I mean, not killed, but we would have liked to have 8 teams.
oh yeah.
Now we got 12, and I think it's just a crapshoot 4 through 12. I mean 5 through 12. First 4. I mean, you get somebody to drive through to pick the first 4. I mean, and I like drive through people, but some of them not real smart.
what this is going to do, if you lose your quarterback for 8 games, 10 games in a season because of an injury, you're always going to have hope to get back in it and have the superstar play for you. It's going to create so many good storylines. More teams will be involved. The playoffs are going to be a lot of fun.
I tell you what, Dayne, you've been over there. Besides changing diapers, you've been over there thinking up some really good ideas about that. So, you know, I can send a little thank you note to a guy and say, hey, one of my producers here said you're going to lose your quarterback for 8 to 10 games, but he can still come back and play in the playoffs. So,
hey, I'm a general manager, coach. You have to anticipate the situations, right?
That's the way to carry the show, man. That's some good stuff.
Let's get the questions over at UGASports.com. OU Herschel Walker on the turf toe stuff. Just want to know, Coach, are there different severities of turf toe that can determine how much time a player misses?
Yeah, I mean, some of them require surgery. So that the real severe one, you know, it's displaced enough that you have to, you know, go in and refigure it. So definitely, there's some that are a lot more severe than others.
Billy Zane wants to know, in a game like this where you may be losing some potential starters somewhat close to it, do you change your game plan based on that personnel, or do you just kind of roll with what you got?
I think a lot of it has to do with who you're playing and what their strengths are. So if you feel like you're going to need more offense than you probably have, then you're going to have to find a way to generate that. And is that through the kicking game? Is that through hoping you create turnovers or whatever it may be? So you look at the overall strength of the other team before you actually change your philosophy enough because of the injuries. And the one good thing about us is most of our second and third team guys are good enough to come in and play a really demonstrative role among the players that they're going to be playing with. It's not like they're going out there by themselves. They could go out there and fit in and not take away from it as compared to a guy that just doesn't have a lot of ability and then the other team can take advantage of. You can hide a few things there once in a while if a guy, just because of the strength of the other players. But a good question, and all game plans are set based on your strengths, their weaknesses, their strengths, your weaknesses, personnel. We got guys, I'm just telling you, we got guys looking at how they tie their shoes. I mean, you can't believe the degree of how much they look at each one of these kids' stance. Does he stagger a little bit more if he's taking this kind of release? Does he have a wider base if he's doing this? Does he have a lot of weight forward when he's going forward, back on his heels when he's going to the side? Does the quarterback look to left or right all the time, or does he look to the side he's going to throw and then look to the other side coming to the line? Those are little keys that, you know, it seems like anybody could see them, but if you can pick that out, general tendency, you see a high school kid a lot of times, he's going to throw the ball to the strong area, let's say, on the route. He'll be walking to the line looking at that. You know what I mean? So I used to talk to our quarterbacks. We spent 2 or 3 days a year teaching them how to come out of the huddle, just because you want to be able to have the ability to see the whole field without really moving your head, working on your peripheral vision, keeping your head up. Nothing really makes the other team more confident than see a quarterback walk to the line with his head down and like good God, I'm going to have to run a play instead of walking up there. You better watch this shit, man. I'm getting ready to kick your ass. That's what I like. I want that in my quarterback. Bad language by me. I've been in by myself for 5 weeks here, except when these guys come and take me out to eat or bring me some food. So I apologize for using that kind of language on here. Sorry.
The language is fine. It's after dark, so that's completely good.
From Bulldog Ben, do you think Bobo and Beck are more in sync than maybe Monken and Stetson?
I don't know about that. That's a very good question, and it could be answered a lot of ways. But I guarantee you, Monken was in tune with Stetson, and I feel like Beck and Bobo really got a good feel for each other, and that's imperative. And hopefully Mike got that from me and Coach Rick and the people he was under. You spend so much time with your team meeting and all, but you also spend time with the quarterback on his own, talking about what he likes, because that's what counts. And I think they got really good communication there.
I think he's also really in tune with Gunnar Stockton, too. He's known him since he was in diapers.
And Montgomery Van Gorder is good behind the scenes.
Yes.
Just a guy that is available. Let's just say Mike is meeting with the offensive staff or doing that, and say Beck wants to come over there and watch a little tape on his own and ask, maybe Gummy will go back there with him and just drill him a little bit. And, there's nothing like sitting there with all the different kind of tapes we got, end zone shot, tight shot, wide shot, all that. And just, okay, we're running this. Tell me what you're thinking. Not only what are we going to do, but what can they do from how they're playing right there? Estimate the defensive intent. What can they do from how they line up? And from that standpoint, a lot of good teaching.
Gummy's one of the guys whose name gets thrown around. We're hearing it from recruits as well. And I'm just saying, it's at some point in the offseason, we've done this with a number of Kirby support staff. We're like, now so-and-so has moved up and taken a job at Miami, Tennessee, Florida, Oregon, or Marshall Malchow. Guys get hired away because Kirby has a really good staff tree. You hear about the coaching tree.
Well, you look at Buster Faulkner, same kind of job that Buster had here. Yep. And now he's a coordinator making over $1 million at Georgia Tech, and which he deserves. And
assistant offensive line coach with the Green Bay Packers was at Georgia just a couple years ago.
Hell, Mike McDonald was. So.
Yeah.
Well, so was Sia. How do you pronounce his name? The Jets coach.
Robert Sella.
Sella,
yeah.
TA here.
I'm just saying.
All that coach is mentioning, that's why Jaden Rashada came to Georgia when he could have started at a lot of places with the talent he has and wanted to come to Georgia and learn how to quarterback.
He'll definitely get plenty of that. And the other thing you'll get going against defense is going to show him everything in the history of football every day.
Coach, you mentioned earlier, it ain't like Georgia's just playing pickleball over there at the practice facility. Dusty Rings wants to know, do you play pickleball?
That's a good question, and a lot of people ask me because of my tennis background. I played a little bit, but my deal is when I can't play tennis anymore, I'm going to start playing pickleball. I love tennis so much that any chance I can get, I'm going to play it until I can't play it anymore. And right now I'm looking down the barrel of I might have played my last tennis, which is killing me. So I couldn't play pickleball right now either. I can't even walk down the steps hardly, but I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me. I just got no balance right now because of this issue, but I'm going to come back stronger than Ajax if I can, though. I've been very fortunate. I had good health, and if I don't ever play another set, I'm happy about that, but I definitely would like to play some more.
This from Dog KC. Is this the most confident that you may have ever been for Georgia going into this season?
I don't think I can really give you a realistic answer there because I know as little about Georgia beside what I've read than I've ever known since Kirby's been here, because I haven't been over there. So I can't really give you I certainly could go over there, but I can't see the numbers and I can't, move around enough. I don't want those kids to see me like this. So I just, I haven't been able to.
And then Stitch Hatch asks me, how is East Lawrence going to do against Nazir Johnson? Well, Nazir played for Dublin, but now he's at Georgia. So East Lawrence does not have to worry about that. But I will give a shout out to East Lawrence for beating Johnson County. So Russ Tanner, take that. East Lawrence got the W.
Well, you're getting on Russ a little bit, eh?
I am. East Lawrence gave West Lawrence a game, and they're significantly bigger. They get all the resources in Lawrence County.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of East Lawrence Falcons. Got them a stadium in the last couple of years, new high school. Look it up.
Go for
it. That's all the questions we have, Roddy. When we do this next week, it is game week.
Well, we had one from a couple other questions I want to touch on real quick. Coach, if Mike Bobo met with any other coaches over the summer? I think he does all the time, but that's from Athens Bound.
I think what Kirby does at the end of every season is he looks around the country and who's been successful and what they're doing. And each coach does kind of a, project on that team and writes it up. And sometimes it entails going to see them and meeting with them. And sometimes other schools come here and talk to us. I know we go to some pro camps and talk to people. I don't know if Mike visited with anybody or, we're pretty set in what we're going to do. But I can't really say what he did or didn't do.
I've asked Kirby about this in the past, just trying to get him to name some people. In some years, we went here, here, and here. Other years, just like, yes. And we're like, do you want to mention? No. So it's tough to get him out of that. But
yeah, what happens is when we have our camp, and of course, COVID, we didn't have it. Particularly the northern schools who don't have the amount of kids coming to their camps from the south just because of the expense. But they'll come down here for 1 or 2 days and observe our camps. And then in between the actual camp, they'll meet with our staff. And I know Pitt was here a year ago. And there's a lot of good schools that come in here. And sometimes some of the smaller schools who do a tremendous job coaching. I remember I've said this before, but Rich Rodriguez was up at West Virginia at a small school before he got into big time coaching. And he would come to our Marshall clinics and all, and we would talk to him about our stuff, but then we would listen to him. And that was when the beer was really coming into fruition. And this guy was cutting edge, and you can always learn from anybody, that's for sure.
And I will just say this in answer to the question, Athens Bound, we're not certain, but no, Mike Bobo loves talk shop. So he thought that Georgia he could learn something from somebody, he would go see him or get him on a Zoom call in 2 seconds. So
I can tell you one coach he talked to, Tavares Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Coach.
Steve Rock came in. Yep.
I'm looking at Rich Rod's career. Was it Glenville State or Salem?
I think he was in Glenville then, and actually, I think maybe Terry Bowden might have been with him some there. I know that the coach Jimbo Fisher was up there too. He might have played at one of those places, but Jimbo, I think, played at down in Alabama somewhere. But
so Terry Bowden was at Salem from 83 to 85. Rich Rod was there from 86 to 88.
So he was at Glenville when I was at Marshall 90
to 96. Yeah.
Yeah, he was there.
Then Tulane, Clemson, West Virginia, Michigan, Arizona, Ole Miss, Louisiana Monroe, and now Jacksonville State.
I never will forget, Rich Rod told me, you remember when we played in the Sugar Bowl and they couldn't play because of the hurricane and they played it in Atlanta?
Yes.
He told me, and I told Mike. I didn't know the defensive coach. He said, we're going to go fast on them because they don't line up within one defense when they never checked anything else. They play the same defense every time you check, line up quick. And we did, and they drilled us. But we came back, and they had to fake a punt to win the game, I think.
I remember that.
Hey, I just picked James Cook on a fantasy draft while we're doing this too.
You multitasking, man. I need to change 2 diapers.
I got to win this. I got to win the cash, Coach.
He's got to pay for like 9 different weddings, Coach. He needs to make some money.
What does the winner win?
I think I put in like $25 or something. So it's not. I don't remember what it was, and I'm probably going to get text now being like, "That's all you gave? It was more."
How many teams are in your league?
Let's see. Right now, I think there were 12 teams in the league. I have Garrett Wilson, Travis Kelce, and James Cook so far.
Good. And you got Taylor Swift as a cheerleader.
I mean, you got to ride the wave. It's the Eras Tour, man.
All right.
That's how he picks, Coach. He picks based on girlfriends. So
that's good.
Smart man.
Go on YouTube and Travis Kelce. I don't know what he was doing, if he had a camp or what, about tight ends, and he had a bunch of guys in the room. But he's talking about how he reads coverages as a receiver. It was very good. I mean, very articulate. He sounded like a coach, but he really had a lot of very good philosophies about which most coaches understand. But I think fans would get the nuances of what a guy does as far as reading coverages, breaking things off, doing things like that. And it's worth the read to listen to it for 5 minutes.
I'll look that up because he's one of the best I've ever seen. And hell, you know me, I'm all about the tight end, so I'm very excited. I'm excited about the Falcons now because you got 2 tight ends over there. They can run 12 personnel with 2 Georgia guys.
Yeah, I like
hell yeah, let's go. Charlie Warner, Fitzpatrick, put them both in.
We got a good tight end room too. I mean,
I know.
They lost Bowers. I mean, we certainly got, Urosic coming up there, and then we had Heinrich and Riddell. It's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Well, we'll be talking about them next week because it'll be game week. So should be a fun we should be back on our normal time next week because Kirby will speak to the media on on Monday. So Tuesday at noon, we can be back to our regular time slot. We will be previewing not only the Georgia Clemson game, but whatever interesting news comes out of Kirby Smart's press conference. We'll get to talk to some players on Monday, and we'll get to talk to some players on Tuesday as well. So we should have a lot to talk about next week. So join us at noon on Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. We will see you later. Take care.